Hey guys, welcome back to the SoundQ Garage podcast with your host, Eddie. Today we are talking about DAPs versus iPhones. And this is a topic that I've kind of wanted to address for a little while. I think just about every other week, or at least once a month, I see somebody posting in the sound quality forum or over on Dyma about one's better. I see a lot of arguments going both ways, and a lot of people saying the iPhone is better. Some people say the DAP is better. So today we're going to dive into this topic, shed a little bit of light. To me, I don't think either one is better than the other. I think basically it's kind of pick your poison type thing, or what you prefer. I'm going to go over both, and we're going to basically peel it back and open it up and see what the options are. And I think both have compelling arguments, but in my opinion, I don't think one is better than the other opinion. And remember, I'm not an expert. I'm not saying I am. I think both of them have a place in the car world. Let's get into it. We'll go over it. All right, first let's start. I got some tabs here set up. So in order to run an iPhone in your car, as far as running it into your DSP, basically you can use something like this, the SMSL PO100, the 2024 version. I don't know if the older version is even available anymore. I've had both. They both work great. Basically, this acts as a digital transport to your DSP. Basically, you don't have to use an iPhone. You can use a Android phone or whatever. I'm not gonna talk about Android much. I'm gonna talk about what I have experience with. So again, I'm not an expert. I'm just gonna go over on the type of devices that I've used and what I've had good luck with. So basically, with the iPhone, you run a USB cable from your iPhone to the SMSL, and then you can either run coaxial or optical to your DSP. Let's see what we got here next. So in order to keep your phone charged, you need a device like this. This is the AirMe dual USB headphone adapter, and so you can run one wire to your SMSL and one wire to keep it charged. Personally, I never used a device like this. I really didn't find it necessary because I have an iPhone 15 Pro, and the battery, even after an hour, I drove, the furthest I drove one time while playing music continuously with my iPhone using the SMSL was basically an hour, maybe an hour and a half. My phone only dropped 10%. Your results may vary depending on how worn out or how new your battery is, what kind of condition it's in. But like I said, I didn't find this necessary. I just used to plug my phone directly into the SMSL. So remember, keep in mind, this isn't a DAC. This is just basically a digital transport. Some people get confused on that. So, but if you want to keep your phone charged, this is a nice little device. There's other ways to do this. You can use a hub or, other means. There's more than one way to skin a cat. This is just one of them. So do your research and find out what works for you. So we'll circle back on that. So here is the DAP that I have. It's a Hibby R6 Gen 3. With my Hibby, or Hibby, however you pronounce it, I don't use an SMSL PO100 to transport or to give my DSP its signal. So basically, I bought this cable. It's an ArcLove USB-C to coaxial cable. Believe it or not, you can actually use this cable instead of an SMSL. Get the output, the digital output to your DSP. I'm going to show you another method here that I bought also, and this is pretty neat. This is the Hibby UC10 USB-C to coaxial digital out. So this little device here, you can use this, send the digital output to your DSP. This is just another way to skin the cat. You're going to need a little cable. This is the Hibby 3.5 millimeter to RCA coaxial cable. So with this, you can use this to send the signal to your DSP. The nice thing about this is this actually shows you, how high or what type of, if it's showing high res or if it's showing the standard resolution. So with this, you could kind of confirm whether or not whatever device you're using is outputting that I'll tell you right now up front, both devices transmit or send out the high res bit perfect signals. I use Apple Music and Qobuz, and yes, they are sending out whatever it says it's sending out, it's sending out. So they're not pulling your leg on it. So let's see. So this is RSD. You can find RSD cables on Facebook. And I don't know the gentleman's name, but I've bought like 3 or 4 cables from him, and they're always great quality. I always, to me, in my opinion, it's always great to patronize people that are in our hobby. So I think it's always great to support people that are in the industry and give them your support, because every little bit helps, to keep this hobby going and get more people interested in it. And anybody, your fellow enthusiasts that have little shops and stuff like that, you might pay a little bit more versus buying a cable on Amazon, but porting one of us. I don't know the guy's name. I'll try to find out his name and post it below this video, but he makes great cables. I'm going to show you right here. Some of you guys might know his name, but getting back to the pros and cons. So basically, when you have an iPhone, you have to run, a USB cable to the input of the SMSL. So in my opinion, like I said, this is just my 2 cents. I think that it's just more things in the chain, something that could go wrong. I have seen people post on Dyma and on the SoundQ, on the sound quality forums on Facebook, that they've had issues with the SMSL, depending on what type of phone they use, or sometimes they have issues with Qobuz. In my experience, I haven't had any issues. Like I said, it's kind of far and few between. So I'm not trying to discourage anybody from using the SMSL, but there have been reported issues with certain, I think when it's like 192K or something like that, some people have had issues. I've had 0 issues. This little box works really good. It, like I said, it's a digital transport. It's always never did me wrong. I always had good luck with it. That is one more thing that could go wrong. That's one more thing in the chain. And instead of having a direct shot to the DSP like I do with the Hibby, I have the Hibby connected to this cable here. I don't have the SML in the middle of it, something to charge your iPhone. It's just more things that could go wrong. That's just one of the cons. So we're going to go over the pros and cons. So on the DAP, I'm going to go straight to the DAP here. Okay, so with the DAP is going to have better. So once again, this is versus iPhone, not against Android. If you have an Android, a lot of this stuff might actually apply, and the cons might actually go right out the door. So versus an iPhone. So looking at my notes here, with the DAP, you're going to have better Bluetooth codecs. With the Bluetooth codecs, you got LDAC, aptX lossless. That's something that the iPhone cannot do. The iPhone does standard Bluetooth and it does AAC. So depending on the Bluetooth receiver that you have, that might not even matter, to be honest with you. A lot of people are going to go, hey, Ed, hey, whoa, hold the phone. We're talking about sound quality here. Well, the Bluetooth codecs that I'm talking about are high res. And some people might actually, that's just one more tool in the toolbox that you have. I don't use Bluetooth a lot when I'm doing demos or when I want to do critical listening. I'm wired up. I got the umbilical cord wired up. But yeah, that is one pro for the DAP. Also with the DAP, another pro is that you could do up to a 2 terabyte memory card, 2 terabyte expandable memory. Memory these days is cheap. You could buy a little memory card from Samsung, SD disk, SanDisk, pick your poison. But, look up what an iPhone with 2 terabyte or 1 terabyte costs. You're looking at well over $1,000. So that's a pro, in my opinion, for the DAP. So another thing that I think, for me, music is cathartic. It's relaxing. It's how I get, unwind at the end of the day. It's how I, relaxes me before I get to work. You got no distractions. Somebody texts you on your phone, it's hooked up to your stereo. You're going to be looking down at your phone or checking your phone or whatever. I don't know, that might not be something that bugs people or whatever, but to me, I think when I'm listening to music, it's sort of like meditation to me. You don't want to be disturbed when you're praying or when you're meditating, do you? I can't tell you how many times I get annoyed or I used to get annoyed when I'm driving and the GPS comes on at the best part of a drum or a drop on the song. And it's like I said, music is cathartic to me. So it's no distractions. So let's see. So no adapters needed. I know a lot of people are going to break my balls about this, but on the DAP, you have full parametric EQ, global EQ. I know it's not bit perfect. Don't come at me, but to me that's not a big deal. I don't think that you bumping up the bass half a decibel or 1 dB for a song that has thin bass. Every song is recorded differently. Even some songs that are the same are recorded differently across different platforms or across different streaming platforms. They might sound different. One might sound thinner, more bright, whatever. And you want to turn down the bass or turn up the bass, turn down the treble. I have a mini DSP, so I don't have a Helix DSP where I can control the mid high. I can turn up the bass on my control knob, and that's it. Turn it up and down, whatever. Once you set your DSP, that doesn't mean that it's gonna be a good uh setting for every single song. I listen to a lot of type of music. I just don't listen to one type of genre. So once in a while I do. It's not like I'm fiddling with the EQ, all day long. But yeah, there are little things that you wanna make up for. So anyway, I think one of the pros also on the DAP is you can use it at home for headphones. You can use it as a source unit, as a desktop. If you're a true music enthusiast, if you're an audiophile, I'm sure you listen to music at home. It's a good. You can do that with the phone too. But like I said, we're going back to getting disturbed and listening to music undisturbed versus looking at your device and checking out TikTok videos or checking out Instagram videos. It's there in your hand, and you're just going to be tempted to. One of the cons. Let's go into the cons with the DAP is, so you got two devices versus one. No CarPlay. Most modern cars these days have CarPlay. Safety minded, you know what I mean? One device with the iPhone. If you want to do a message, you could just go through CarPlay. You can answer phone calls through CarPlay. You can answer text. You can look at your GPS. It's a one-stop shop. So let's go on to the iPhone Pros. So you got one device, always on hand. The CarPlay route, they both do perfect. So that's a wash there. Safety is always a concern. You want to be paying attention to the road. In the iPhone Pro or even the regular iPhone, it's got some heavy punches. You don't have to worry about dropping it, at least from a reasonable distance. I never drop my DAP player, but I'm assuming that it's not as rugged as a phone. They don't really sell rugged cases like they do. They kind of just sell cases so it doesn't get scratched or dinged up. Really, it's not really for protection. But you could buy a freaking OtterBox for your iPhone and drop it from 20 feet, and it won't even damage it. So, but yeah, it's always in your hand. You got one device to worry about. You don't have to worry about two devices. I will say with the DAP, even after an hour of playtime, because I usually drive 35 minutes to work, 35 minutes back home, plus or minus, depending on traffic. So let's just call it an hour. It drops like 5%. It literally takes me like 2 weeks to run through the battery. And that's another thing too with the iPhone. If you're using the iPhone as your source, that's gonna deplete your battery little by little. And I don't know about you, but these devices, at least mine was over $1,000. You want it to last at least 3 years. That's what I've been using my phone for, pretty much. 3-year cycles. Some people might not be concerned about that. They're like, battery, whatever. It's just kind of comes with the territory. It does degrade no matter what. But if you're using it as a source unit, it's going to degrade quicker. And if you use your phone a lot, depending on if you use it for work, construction, whatever, yeah, the phone's going to wear out a lot, a little quicker. So yeah, you're going to need the SMSL if you're using that. You don't really need to use the SMSL because you can either go with the Hibby converter, like I said, or you can go, with the arc love cable that I talked about. So yeah, let's see. So cons, you got the internal memory, wear of battery, 2 terabytes is expensive. No EQ, adapter needed, AV adapter, more stuff to break, and the Bluetooth codecs. So the way I look at it is I think both of these devices are excellent. It's not one or the other. I think it's more or less what you prefer. One thing that's cool though, that's I think some of the newer cars have the wireless CarPlay. My car didn't come with wireless CarPlay, so I bought this little adapter. It's a cheap little adapter. It's like $10 or $15. I tried like 3 different ones. This one here in particular was actually one of the best ones. Believe it or not, I found this in another car. So it was free for me. It's a $15 device. So what's neat about this is you might not even need this if you already have wireless CarPlay. What's cool about this is that you can run wireless CarPlay and control everything on your screen. You still have the best of both worlds, but you can output, you can choose on your phone to output the audio to your DSP. So this is kind of like a nice little workaround that you can do and kind of have your cake and eat it too. You're not going to hear the car prompts. My car in particular, like if I don't put on my seatbelt, it tells me, please put on your seatbelt. Little female voice comes out the left side of the speaker. So that gets bypassed because the iPhone is only outputting music. Basically, but this is, like I said, this is a nice way to have your cake and eat it too. You can have this hooked up. And like I said, you don't need this if you already have wireless CarPlay already from the factory. This is for you guys out there that your car only does wired CarPlay. This little doohickey right here, like I said, when you do that, you run this and you run your CarPlay like normal, but you go into the output tab on your phone, click on that, and route your music out to the DSP. Now you got the best of both worlds. So it's pretty cool little workaround. I kind of got to give credit to Apple for that one, or CarPlay. Let's see. So what else we got here? So yeah, that about does it. I just wanted to make a short, quick and dirty video on the pros and cons. And I see this every week on one versus the other. I really don't think that one is better than the other. I think it's kind of what's better for you. For those people out there that are like, oh, that's exactly, the opposite of what with regards to bit perfect, adjusting the EQ. A lot of you guys who are in this hobby, you really gotta stop with the having music as pure as snow. It's not really that big of a deal, guys. You're really gonna find a bigger difference between well-recorded songs versus getting a high-res song or a song that's bit perfect and untouched. You really, what matters is how well song was mastered and how well the song was recorded. Don't be surprised if a lot of your favorite songs sound like shit. I'm sure all the SoundQ guys, all the SQ guys know this, that a lot of the songs that, you grew up with or that you might have liked in your childhood, or songs that you like, once you play them through a system that's going to reveal a song's imperfections, you're going to be like, these songs sound like shit. That's why a lot of the SoundQ playlists have songs or curate, a lot of people have curated lists that they have their songs that are well recorded. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember those mirrors that had the magnify glass in it, and you point it towards your face and you see all the little imperfections in your pores and your face. That's what a sound quality system does. It reveals all these imperfections in a song that was recorded like shit. So if you adjust the EQ in on your DAP or your phone, you could do it on your phone too with an Android, and then Apple has like 10 or 12 different EQs that you can choose from, but they're not adjustable. It's no longer bit perfect. Yeah, I'll admit it's no longer bit perfect. But should you care? It's not big perfect. It's not big perfect, but Sometimes it's necessary to compensate for the car's interior, the acoustics, or the speaker limitations. If the song needs a little bit more bass, or maybe the song needs a treble turned down, or the mid turned down a little bit because the mid is hot, I'm not going to whip out the laptop and go change my house curve to suit one song that I'm listening to on my playlist. I'm not going to do that. Or I'm not going to go into my laptop to change the mid bass for a particular song because the mid bass isn't snappy enough or punchy enough. That's why I got the EQ on my DAP. I could just boop, bump it up one notch. That's not the end of the world. My song's not going to sound like crap because I did that. Okay? So we're talking about quality versus perfection. A non-bit perfect signal that has been EQ'd to sound better in your car is usually superior to a bit perfect signal that sounds thin or boomy. Modern processing, 24-bit or 32-bit digital systems have enough headroom to apply EQ without causing audible degradation, even if the result is not technically bit perfect. So what I'm trying to say with this is enjoy your music. Get out there, listen to your music. Don't stop worrying about this bit perfect crap and about, having absolute perfection. If you like it, that's all that matters at the end of the day. You're not going to sit there and put in a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 system, whatever, $70,000 system and be like, no, this has to be bit perfect. And in your heart of hearts that you wish you had a little bit more mid bass, or that you wish you could tone down the treble on that. I don't care if you have the world's best house curve. There's always imperfections in music. There's always a lot of people out there are like, oh, well, that's not how the artist intended it. How do you know what the artist intended? Did you talk to the artist? Did you talk to the guy that mastered the song? You know what the artist intended? For you to enjoy the fucking music. That's what the artist intended. Okay? I know artists. I've DJ'd for 30 years. I know music producers. I know artists in my line of work. And guess what? The artist doesn't care if you're listening to it in Bluetooth headphones. The artist doesn't care if you're listening to it on a single mono speaker, one of those little JBL pills, Bluetooth pills, or whatever they're called, the Beats pill. They don't care. They want you to enjoy their music. Okay? So they don't care if you're listening to it in a $20,000 home stereo or $100,000 home stereo, or if you're listening to it on a $30 Bluetooth speaker. They want you to enjoy the music. At the end of the day, this is about enjoyment of music. So get out there, listen to your music, enjoy it. Like I said, to me, it's cathartic. It relaxes me. That's my zen. All right. I've said that before. But that's all I got to say about it. And like I said, this is just my 2 cents. Don't come at me. You know what? If you want, come at me. I don't care. But that's all, folks.